Okay, LovingDoubt, I'm finally getting around to doing mostly a portrait of an atheist. I am an atheist, I am a tantric Buddhist, and I am a Taoist. The first definitions indicate what I don't believe, which I shouldn't have to, but it's the culture, while the other three descriptions indicate the philosophical path I have found best to follow in the short span I have on this planet. Now, I promised to do a portrait of an atheist, but sadly I can only discuss two topics in this video, because I sat down to write up this video, and just on the abortion issue, I ended up with half a page, and I wasn't even halfway done. A page usually accounts to about 5 minutes. Abortion, the death penalty, and economics are way too complex for a short video. Drug laws and gay rights are very cut and dried. They got a lot of information and history, but they're cut and dried. And fear and religion are the only things that affect them. I've actually recorded 2 videos discussing abortion, but they never made it to YouTube because they seem flippant of the other side's view, which would just cause polarization and not actual discussion. I'll link the other videos once they're made so that this will be in the entirety of the tag. I apologize for postponing again, but the issues are too complex to brush over in the small space allotted by YouTube. I'll try and get those done sometime in the next 6 months. I don't know. I've got a lot on my plate, and my job's pretty stressful. I'm a libertarian by nature, and while I'm going to get a ton of hate mail from gun owners, I feel the Democratic candidates I had the chance to vote for this time around reflected my views much better than any other candidate. Every single issue I will discuss is based on a long-studied precedent that no culture is against or can disagree with. This is called natural law. It consists of 2 basic laws. 1, do not encroach onto the property of another, and 2, do all you have agreed to do. However, as you'll see, precedent is required in interpreting these ideas, as well as scientific inquiry. The drug policy. Federal war on drugs is by far a breach of both constitutional and natural law. Hemp has been grown for thousands of years and has been found to be a much better biofuel than corn. A field of hemp produces 4 times the amount of higher quality paper than the same field of trees, and hemp does not rape the soil like cotton does in fabric production. As you can see, it was and still is in many companies' best interest to keep this cheap resource illegal. On top of that, it was racially motivated. A tree baron in the late 1800s made the claim that marijuana use made the Negro and the Mexican feel as if they were on equal footing with the white man. And when Prohibition ended, weed was not decriminalized because it was mostly only used by minorities, and it was a perfect excuse to bust them and make sure they couldn't function in society. Addiction is a mental disorder that must be treated. If a person is addicted to alcohol and hasn't harmed anyone, we don't toss him in prison, we send him or her to rehab or try to get the person help. Arrests should be made when what you put into your body affects others, such as when you hit someone while under the influence of a substance. Just like with a gun, the ownership of it and use of it doesn't make you a criminal. It's how you use it that makes you a criminal. Drugs like LSD and ecstasy were considered modern wonder drugs in the psychiatric community because of their wonderful effects with proper dosing and procedure in treating drug addictions with LSD and using ecstasy in treating post-traumatic stress disorder. But the government does not allow their use for any purpose, while people get addicted to Oxycontin and other prescription drugs because they're legal. For more information on LSD, look on the internet for Hoffman's Magic Potion, I believe it is. It's actual scientific footage done by Albert Hoffman, who discovered LSD and the therapeutic results from doing so. Also, I want to stress that I do not condone drug use. I just believe that criminalization of it is extremely against the Constitution. Right now, the U.S. is spending billions every year busting people for drugs, housing them in prisons for drugs, and paying for drug rehabilitation. If drugs were illegal, we could tax them and have them pay for their own rehab instead of our taxes being drained into destroying people's lives who hurt no one. Legalization would also completely destroy the South American and Central American drug lords, as all their revenue comes from the drug trade. What is happening in Juarez, Mexico is exactly what happened in America during the Prohibition. We just outsourced our mob so we don't have to deal with a Capone in our own backyard. Also, states are perfectly capable of regulating drugs without a federal law. California could legally sell weed if they decided to, but the federal agents could also legally bust you if they decided to put the time and resources into it. And in closing, children can get their hands on weed more easily than they can on alcohol. So when arguing for the children, think about that one. Regulation, not prohibition, is the answer. Gay marriage. I don't believe gay marriage should be legal. I'm not a homophobe. I don't think any marriage should be legal. Marriage is a religious institution, and if a church or your religion wants to marry you, good for them, but the state should have nothing to do with it. Civil unions, however, are contracts invented long ago that go back at least as far as the European Middle Ages, and anyone sharing funds and possessions under the same roof could get one of these regardless of if they were having sex or not. A civil union was useful because it helped the couple save money and use less resources. It also provided stability to children raised by the couple. This couple could be siblings raising an orphan. The state didn't care. It was good for the community for people to pool resources and provide stability to children. What you did sexually had nothing to do with this contract. However, if the state is going to be in charge of marriage, which is cutting into the First Amendment, then sexual orientation is government interference of a completely legal contract that hurts no one else.